Why does the UK censure President Putin and Minister Lavrov? Welcome to JulianSwartz.com. Why does the UK censure President Putin and Minister Lavrov? President Vladimir Putin and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will be hit with an assets freeze as part of the UK's punitive sanctions regime to degrade Russia's economy and military infrastructure. President Vladimir Putin and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov assets frozen in the latest wave of UK's punishing sanctions regime. Both blocked from any future business in UK. Trust, these new sanctions send a clear message that nothing and no one is off the table. Hitting top of Russia's government, part of coordinated campaign by allies to degrade Russian economy following invasion of Ukraine. President Vladimir Putin and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov will be hit with an assets freeze as part of the UK's punitive sanctions regime, economy and military infrastructure. In a third wave of punishing sanctions in just 4 days, the UK's sanctions have been strategically coordinated with international allies to impose a severe cost on Putin and his regime. The new sanctions, which are targeted personally at Putin and Lavrov, will see any UK-based assets frozen immediately, and UK companies will be barred from providing goods, services or assets to them in future. The Foreign Secretary Liz Truss said sanctions send a clear message that nothing and no one is off the table. These measures reflect the horror and gravity of what Putin and his regime has done, violating the territorial integrity of a sovereign nation with an illegal and unjustified invasion. Today's announcement follows a sweeping package of financial sanctions targeting Russian banks, oligarchs and key strategic businesses, as well as territorial sanctions and restrictions on sovereign debt announced on Tuesday. Sanctions announced by the Prime Minister include: all major Russian banks will have their assets frozen and be excluded from the UK financial system. This will stop them from accessing sterling and clearing payments through the UK. This includes a full and immediate freeze of VTB Bank. Why would the UK apply sanctions? Why impose sanctions? Their principal purpose is usually to change the behavior of the target country's regimes, individuals or groups in a direction which will improve the situation in that country. What is the sanction system UK? Sanctions are measures that the UK puts in place to fulfill a range of purposes. These include complying with UN and other international obligations, supporting foreign policy and national security objectives, as well as maintaining international peace and security, and preventing terrorism. What Russian banks have been sanctioned? OFAC has also imposed blocking sanctions on 3 additional major Russian financial Okriti, Novicom, and Sovcom. These 3 financial institutions play significant roles in the Russian economy, holding combined assets worth $80 billion. Who implements sanctions in the UK? Treasury. The Office of Financial Sanctions Implementation (OFSI) is to ensure that financial sanctions are properly understood, implemented and enforced in the United Kingdom. OFSI is part of Treasury. What are the types of sanctions? Types of sanctions. Economic sanctions. Economic sanctions are commercial and financial penalties that typically ban customary trade and financial relations. Diplomatic sanctions. Military sanctions. Sport sanctions. Sanctions on individuals. Sanctions on environment. UNSC sanctions and OFAC. Where do UK sanctions apply? UK financial sanctions apply to any individual or entity within the UK's territory or that carries out activities with territory. Does the UK have any sanctions? The UK sanctions against 120 businesses and oligarchs are part of a concerted strike against the Putin regime, carefully coordinated with our international allies including the US, the EU, and other G7 partners. Do US sanctions apply in the UK? The Foreign and Commonwealth Office has brought oversight for sanctions policy in the UK. However, responsibility for administering and enforcement of sanctions in the UK to various government departments. Does the UK have sanctions against Cuba? The answer was, there are no UK, EU or UN sanctions regimes restricting transactions between the UK and Cuba. The US has economic sanctions against Cuba. What are sanctions against a country? Economic sanctions are commercial and financial penalties applied by one or more countries against a targeted self-governing state, group, or individual. Economic sanctions are necessarily imposed because of economic circumstances. They may also be imposed for a variety of political, military, and social issues. What is Russia's largest bank? Sberbank. Sberbank is the largest bank in Russia, holds nearly one-third of the overall Russian banking sector's assets, is heavily connected to the global financial system, and is systemically critical to the Russian financial system. Previous sanctions announced as part of the UK package include Russian banks frozen, including a full asset freeze on VTB. Coordinated with the US, this is the single biggest financial sanction in history. Individuals and companies whose assets are frozen will be unable to undertake any business in the UK or with UK nationals. Russian companies will be prevented from borrowing on the UK markets, effectively ending the ability of those companies closest to Putin to raise finance in the UK. This is in addition to banning the Russian raising funds in the UK, as previously announced. Designated banks will be prevented from accessing sterling and clearing payments through the UK. Banks subject to this measure will be unable to process any payments through the UK or have access to UK financial markets. A ban on the export of a range of high-end and critical technical equipment and components in sectors including electronics, telecommunications, and aerospace. Media inquiries. Email newsdesk@fcdo.uk. Telephone 020-7008-3100. Contact the FCDO communication team via email, monitored 24 hours a day, in the first instance, and we will respond as soon as possible. What are sanctions in war? International sanctions are political and economic decisions that are part of diplomatic efforts by countries, multilateral or regional organizations against states or organizations either to protect national security interests, or to protect international law, and defend against threats to international peace. Conclusion is that Russia's President Vladimir Putin and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov have had their assets frozen as part of the latest round of sanctions imposed by the UK. Both are barred from doing business in the UK, and UK firms banned from delivering products or services to them in the future. AC has also sanctioned 3 more big Russian financial institutions, Novicom and Sovcom. These 3 financial organizations have combined assets of $80 billion, £53 billion. UK sanctions are part of a coordinated campaign against Putin's dictatorship. FCDO can be contacted 24 hours a day on 020-7008-3100 or by email.